So you're clearly choosing him.
What? Because you need to ride home from the airport? We're getting back together?
No.
Suddenly you get to be back in my life?
Wow, that's nice.
You broke up with me!
Hey, at what point during the pandemic did the idea come to you for pickup? Was it a particular incident or just a general observation about connection?
So I had the idea in November, I think it was, of 2020. And honestly, it just came to me. I get all my ideas when I'm either running, which is how runner happens,
Yes.
when I'm in the shower because your mind's at ease, uh, driving or falling asleep. And so I had
Yeah.
this idea when I was like truly like about to be completely asleep, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a really cool idea. I'll have to remember this in the morning. And then I was like, no, you won't remember this in the morning. So I had to like pull myself out of bed and write it down on my notes app. And I still have the like note on my notes app with like the basic bullet points of what should happen. And I just honestly was pulled to the idea of I wanted to make a relationship drama that was in the pandemic world, that wasn't really about the pandemic, and it wasn't about like sickness or like, oh, like, wearing your masks and gloves in the grocery store and that kind of thing, because I had all these different ideas of shorts that were pandemic related that felt kind of like, yeah, so what, like we're like it just felt like, yeah, we're all experiencing these same things. I liked the image of two people meeting, and they'd had distance from each other in terms of time, space, and emotions, and also physically, having the masks, that's like creating distance, and they were kind of trying to sit further apart. So I thought it'd be interesting if they kind of started as far apart as they could be, right, with masks on, and they have the windows down and that kind of stuff. And then as the film progresses, they get closer both emotionally and physically, and they remove the masks, they remove the kind of what they've been kind of hiding behind in many ways. And then at the end, I thought it'd be very interesting to see these two characters like break that space and have contact. And so that was like, it was more honestly like a visual story first, and then
Right.
I figured out the rest of it. Yeah.
Okay, so the way we look and present ourselves is part of the rules of attraction, which is talked about in pickup. Do you
Yeah.
believe that sometimes people assume certain things based on the way a person looks and immediately tends to dismiss their human condition?
I mean, I definitely think that we draw, assumptions based on appearances all the time. And I mean, in some ways, I think we make judgments based on that even more often than we used to because of social media and
Mm,
the pandemic. Like, most of the only way you're able to interact with people is through seeing what they're doing on Instagram or Facebook. And those things can be very, um, untrue in terms of what people are actually experiencing, so it's just like not what we do as humans. So I think there is definitely like a level of assuming everyone else has it figured out, and you're the only one who's weird or sad or different. And so I think towards the end of the film, his character says, see you on Instagram, kind of like, all
yeah,
right, let's just continue having a surface level friendship. um so in that way, I think that there's a kind of chat about appearances in the film, but that the line you're specifically referring to, where he says like, that she can't be alone, or that he's like shocked that, oh, you single, that kind of thing.
right.
I meant it, I think, less about appearances and more about, I think the pandemic challenged a lot of us in a way, in like confronted us with being alone or being lonely in ways that we've never fully experienced before. Um, and and I think for someone like Nina, she probably did do a lot of hard work, and there probably was a lot of personal growth towards being comfortable being alone and it being hard, and her kind of um, learning about herself more in that way. And so I think when this guy kind of made a jab at her expense, it really hurt because she felt she actually really had grown. And then of course we learned that it's
Yeah.
not the case anymore. But yeah.
So, at what point in rehearsal did you realize the chemistry between you and Chris Rickett was working, and what do you think made it work?
Complicated question. Chris is my boyfriend.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I met him about 4 months before the pandemic hit. So we had been dating somewhat casually prior to the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit, and we're spending a ton of time together. And so we've been together for almost 2 years now. But he's a very good actor. He, in my opinion, is severely underutilized. And he, I just thought he was so good and really natural and interesting. And so I kind of, in the back of my mind, I thought like, well, if I'm going to make a short film during the pandemic, it'll be me and Chris. And so, because I wouldn't want to be exposing another actor. I'd be wanting to do this like as small as possible. So we're not going to be having a large cast or crew. And so I thought it'd be me and Chris and then like my friend who is a DP who I trust, who is safe. And we'll find a sound person. That'll be like kind of it. That was my plan. Because I was like, I can handle most of it, and like we'll figure it out. I don't need a big cast or crew.
Right.
So I knew Chris was going to be the actor involved with me, and then the plot of the film thankfully kind of fell into place with it being about a couple. But it's funny, people always say like, is this based on a true story or anything like that? I'm like, no, not at all, because it's like, I mean, I think there's bits and pieces of the dialogue that I've pulled from various fights or interactions over the course of my life, but nothing in particular, and certainly nothing directly related to me and Chris. So I just thought we play well off each other. But I was nervous because it was our first time like acting together, and I think it can either work really well and you can have great chemistry with your partner, or you can not have a good chemistry with your partner. But yeah, so Chris and we decided to do this, and it was great. He did a great job. We just rehearsed a few times beforehand, and then we just went for it.
You chose again to premiere your film on Amuleto rather than take a festival route. What does this short film platform offer that doesn't necessarily happen with conventional routes?
I decided actually I just wanted to get the film out there and online and in the public view while it was a very relevant topic. And I knew that the vaccine was coming, and I didn't know. I mean, of course, now we know it's still very relevant. I wish it wasn't. I really wish this film was not relevant right now. But speaking for Amuleto, though, like I definitely feel that I can take a meeting with someone and say, look, I have like 800,000 views on this short film, and they're like, okay, they're going to sit down and watch that film,
yes,
as opposed to being like,
oh,
I have 600 views on this film. Like it's a huge way to get exposure for your films. And then if it's performing very well, then you can participate in like the rev share program, so you're making some money back as well because they place ads on the film. And so it's a nice way to kind of get exposure. A programmer from Indie Shorts saw it and thought it was great and wanted to program it, and I was like, don't you guys have a problem with it being online? They were like, nope, we don't at all. So like a lot of film festivals now are kind of waiving the rule about having to have it be no premiere online just because of the times. I do think also the film festival audience is generally very different than someone who watches short films on YouTube. Not always, but I think that there's not as much crossover as we might think.
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2021.